The Monday night games are all in. And you know what? There's a lot of things that we've learned from injuries and quarterbacks throughout the league. There's about 6 injuries out there. The main one that kind of stands out is Joe Burrow is going to be out for 3 months. But he will have to get surgery on that toe because he did ultimately get a turf toe. And turf toes do hurt pretty bad. I mean, you can walk on it, but you're definitely not playing on a turf toe. So, you know, the best of recovery for him. I hope he recovers quickly and comes back. But is this not a good time for the Bengals to go after Shador Sanders? Is it just me that's sitting back and thinking about that, or are the people thinking about it and just don't want to say it? Shador, in all honesty, right now could end up with the Bengals if they trade for him and give up maybe a fourth and a sixth round pick or something like that. Or if I'm Miami, maybe it's time to trade Tua, send Tua to Cleveland and get Shador down to Miami, man. That could change up your entire team because them boys are fed up down in Miami, man. Give them something to look forward to. But like I said, we're really here to talk about the Monday night games. Those things I will definitely talk about in another video. The Texans last night, they found a way to lose. Um, and in all honesty, it's not completely their fault, but you gotta tip your hat off to the Buccaneers, man. Baker Mayfield, that boy is playing lights out. He's playing well. I gotta give him his credit for everything that he's doing, man. He's really transformed. He's been on a few teams, obviously, that didn't use him to his advantage. They didn't coach him up. He goes to the Buccaneers, and he is who we actually thought he was. He is the clutch guy that he was in college and all that. So listen, man, he's a leader, great quarterback. He can play at the highest level. Obviously, we witnessed that. He just needed to be in the right situation, and he is now, and he's showing it. You know what I'm saying? But the Texans, though, man, they got a little complacent when it came to the score. The scoreboard, they got way too complacent in this one. After scoring their first touchdown, moving the ball happened here and there, but in all honesty, they started defeating themselves at a certain point with the defense. All the face mask penalties, all the illegal hands to the face, the, you know, hitting the quarterback when it's too late. There's just too many penalties, man. There's just too many penalties. Even defensive holding, all this stuff is just giving the Buccaneers free first downs. And they got to get these penalties cleaned up. I know that's the reason why they got rid of Laramie Tunsil because of all the offensive penalties, but Laramie Tunsil was still one of their best, if not their best, offensive linemen. So, yes, the offensive penalties were there, but when he needed to come in clutch, he did. But they got rid of him. So, it is what it is. But, you know, the offense is able to move the ball. Nico Collins is being himself. He's definitely the best receiver on that team. I know them boys miss Tank Dell, man. Tank Dell is such a big key for them, and he opens up the field for Nico at the same time. And you can't double cover any one of those guys. So when Tank Dell gets back to 100% and he's actually able to get on the field, you know, I definitely think the Texans will start to look back to the way you guys remember them being 2 years ago and last year, for that matter of fact. But in these first two games, you know, I think honestly the turning point of the game for me is when the Texans were inside the 5 yard line on a fourth down and goal. Why don't you just take the points? This is the NFL. Everything is hard to do. They don't give you nothing. You got to earn everything. You already took 3 tries. You didn't get in the end zone. Okay, fine. Don't sweat it. Take the points. If they had taken those points, then they would have been up 22-21 at the end of that game. Or they would have forced the Buccaneers to go for a 2-point conversion and have to convert a 2-point conversion to tie the game at 22-22 to go to overtime. But you don't take the points inside the 5 yard line, and those points that you didn't take made you pay for the game. It's just, come on, guys. Like, I get sometimes we want to be greedy, we want to show we can get in the end zone, but it's the NFL, man. Take the points. The points are going to mean more in the end, and they always do. So for the Buccaneers, like I said, man, this Baker Mayfield special is really working. It definitely worked out today, but he got banged up a little bit though, man. He took a lot of hits. He's definitely going to need some rest before Sunday. Hopefully they get him a little bit of rest. But I think the biggest standout for the Buccaneers, even though we give all the attention to Baker Mayfield, is adding Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State in the draft this last year. Man, that wide receiver core over the top. Now you already got Michael Evans, and this could be his last season with the Buccaneers. We don't know. We'll find out eventually. But you got Michael Evans that's still there. You got Chris Godwin Jr. And by the way, about Michael Evans, I know he's from Galveston. The reason why this could be his last game inside the NRG Stadium, unless he plays for the Texans later on down the road, is because Tampa is in the NFC South. The rotation only comes around every 4 years before they play the Texans again. So after this, it's going to be 2029 before those guys play again. So you have to keep that in mind with the rotation that they do. But Michael Evans, you got Chris Godwin Jr., you got Tez Johnson, Ryan Miller, Sterling Shepard, and Cameron Johnson. That wide receiver core is solid. And Emeka Egbuka just literally put it over the top, man. It's just like water that filled up to the tip of a cup, and Emeka Egbuka just filled it over the top. That's how good that wide receiver core is. And that's exactly why Baker Mayfield can get time in the pocket, because you need to defend those receivers. They got a serious squad over there. But I definitely do see the Buccaneers taking care of the NFC South fairly easily this season, because the NFC South is actually pretty weak for the most part. You got the Atlanta Falcons, who are kind of figuring it out a little bit, but the Saints are not a threat, and Carolina Panthers I don't think will be a threat. So it's going to definitely be between the Buccaneers and the Falcons. So we'll see how that plays out. You know. Now let's talk about the Raiders and the Chargers here, man. So look, last night was not Geno's day. All right, he didn't have the best day. There are 3 interceptions that he threw that, in all honesty, I would kind of say is his fault. If I'm being completely honest, I just have to say it. All right, the first pick that he threw was the very first play of the game. He just never seen the safety jump in the route. He never turned his head to look over to see what that safety was doing. And as a quarterback, if you're right-handed, of course, the free safety is the first one you're going to check. Sorry, that's wrong. The strong safety is the first one you're going to check, not the free safety. But that free safety completely baited him and took straight off for that ball. That ball got tipped and got picked off. So that was a mistake on his end. He seen an opening. It wasn't as open as he thought, man. These NFL players are just too good. The second pick, this one, you got a receiver going down the sideline. He's double covered, and the ball was just underthrown. And he had a lot of balls that were inaccurate or underthrown in this game as well. But the second interception, the ball was just simply underthrown, and it got picked off by the guy underneath. Obviously that's covering the receiver. The third pick, it wasn't double coverage. A lot of people were saying online that it was double coverage. It was actually just the safety came over and made a play at the end. That was it. But outside of the safety coming in to help, the ball was underthrown. But it wasn't just his fault either, because that ball could have been catchable. There was a chance there. But the receiver put his hands out way too early, letting the defender know that, hey, the ball is coming this way. So the defender just had to swat that ball away. And that's exactly what ended up happening. So, with all of that in mind, you know, it just wasn't the day for the Raiders. They didn't look as good as when they played the Patriots. However, I already said it last week. I think the Chargers are the best team in the AFC West right now. They just got that it factor. Their coach is not playing around. He's running the ball very well. Ashton Genty, obviously seen him with the Raiders run somebody over yesterday, but look, the best running team in the AFC West right now is the Los Angeles Chargers by far. And then you also got your boy Herbert, who's just out there doing his thing, man. He's getting all the time in the world in the pocket. That offensive line holds up so well, which is why they're so good in the run game. But that offensive line just holds up, man. It's getting him 3, almost 4 seconds every play. That's why he's able to hit those deep bombs, because he's able to give those receivers 3, 4 seconds to let those play develops. So, man, the Chargers are definitely looking really good right now. I definitely can't wait to see what they turn out to be throughout the season. And that goes for the Raiders as well. Geno's a really good quarterback. I love watching him play, but last night just wasn't his night, man. And that happens, man. You're human at the end of the day.